Hi, welcome to the 31st Agile Shots from Agile Meridian. My name is Jolly Rajan. I'm here with Kumar Datatrayan, Mike Jabber, and Chris Daly. We are Agile Meridian, as you know it. We have been focusing on the professional Scrum competencies for the past couple of Agile Shots, and we are going to continue that series today. Last time we were looking at the developing and delivering products professionally Scrum competency. We looked at a few focus areas there last time, which was emergent software development, managing technical risks, and optimizing flow. Today, we are going to round out that competency by talking about continuous quality, continuous integration, and continuous delivery. Those are the three left in that competency. So this all means a lot to us for as coaches, scrum masters, product owners, team members. All of these continuous quality integration and delivery means a lot, and we have been practicing that for quite a bit. But let's shed some light on experiences that Kumar, Mike, and Chris had, and I will chime in when I can. Mike, what is your experience with continuous quality as you have seen in the teams? Many people call it built-in quality these days.
Yeah, and I love that term built-in quality, right? It goes back to all of the things that Agile has adopted from Lean back in the manufacturing days, and when this came up through Toyota production systems, and the idea. I spend a lot of my time doing a lot of business agility with the manufacturing community, being here in Cleveland, and it resonates with them very, very well. And it's interesting because a lot of times it's hard to conceptualize how am I going to increase my velocity? How am I going to meet demands in the marketplace? And how am I going to take advantage and reap the benefits of my work within the smaller time windows with quality? How does that all happen at the same time? And the idea around this, building the quality in, making sure that things are handled when they're discovered, and having a pattern of activity in which allows for continuous quality to emerge through the activities, the regular sustainable activities of any development team, whether it's products or whether it's services in a hospital system, for example. All of these things come into play, and this idea of continuous quality is really a key element to make sure that we're not kicking the can down the road on checking up on making sure that things are happening in a high quality fashion. And in establishing those standards around the only acceptable definition of done is one that includes high quality all the time, and the idea that your eye is always on that quality. So I think this is really a key element. It's such a big topic to cover in a short, right? We can only just kind of cover it and kind of uncover it and display it at its high level. But really, when you get into a lot of the techniques that you see out there, establishing the mindsets, establishing an environment that is driven towards quality, not at the expense of quality for speed, but quality inside along with velocity is really, really key. And then the techniques then start to become more valuable.
Yeah. And the funniest thing is that we talked about this in the 90s a lot.
Yes.
Right? I was talking to a client of mine, and the fact that this was a problem in the 90s, that if you find it in production, it is very expensive. You should find it in UAT, which is less expensive. You should find it in system test, which is even less expensive. If you find it in team testing or development, it progressively becomes cheaper. But nobody did much about it. The knowledge was great, but nobody did much about it. Shifting that test to the left has been the biggest benefit of all of the agile work that I've been doing, whether that is Scrum or Kanban or whatnot, and building in the quality as early as possible has been really, really beneficial for the teams.
And the direction of the product owner really plays a key part in that. The fact that over especially the last 10 years, we've incorporated that product owner into the team wholly, right? And it helps you to move that even farther left, because the idea of having the conversations to get the unknowns known, it increases quality. Right up front, because there's less rework, there's less times through the in our product journey loop, there's less times through the loop to get things right, and to get them not just high value but high quality. So to your point, that's a very good way to put it. The farther left you can move it, the better, which means involving people that aren't typically involved in necessarily building and delivering the quality, but have an interest, a stakeholder interest or a user interest in that quality being there in the products and services.
Kumar, what's your experience?
Not to echo anything either of you said, I'll just add on, that really quality is the responsibility of the entire team, right? So the product owner is a key member of that team from a software standpoint or a services standpoint. And we are talking about Scrum. So it's really the team needs to sort of take ownership of quality. And to me, continuous quality is that team mentality. The team owns quality. They define what quality means to them, what it means for the product that they're building or the services that they're building. And then they strive to achieve those standards of quality. And one other thing that you mentioned about, sort of this is something that came out of the 90s. It actually triggered a memory for me, a podcast series that I listened to a couple of years ago on GM, General Motors, and their experience with the Toyota production system. So back in the 90s, they, and we can include this in the show notes below, but back in the 90s, they experimented with TPS, Toyota production system, in one of their factories. In fact, the worst factory in their stable of factories in North America, and that was one in Fremont, California, which coincidentally is now where they make most Teslas in the world.
Right.
And that factory was the worst factory in the stable of factories for GM. And that's where the unions and GM decided they were going to try TPS. And the biggest difference between the way Japanese were building cars and the US manufacturers were building cars back in the 80s and 90s was just one thing. And that was, in Japan, if they discovered an error on the line, they stopped the line, they fixed the error, they fixed the problem. They did a root cause analysis right there to figure out what was causing the problem, the quality issue upstream of wherever it was found. They fixed it before they started the line up again. And in the US factories, of course, they never did that. The line never stopped, and they just marked the car, tagged the car, drove it off or pushed it off the line to a defect lot, which was then fixed later on, right? It's kind of the analogous to your example of where do you find the error? Is it in production? Is it in UAT? Is it in the sprint, right? Or is it even before that when you're defining what quality standards you're trying to achieve? Right. And so that's what triggered for me. Chris, anything to add?
Quality is just one of those intrinsics that everybody wants, but nobody's willing to make those steps to do that, right? It's like we're going to work on our time frame, we're going to work on our schedule, hurry, and we never take the time to do that. And it's pulling that andon cord, right, when you stop the line is very important. And a lot of organizations, the person that pulls the andon cord is usually an executive somewhere, right, that stops the presses. But meanwhile, everybody else is expected to go, and just decentralizing that and moving that decision down, which is essentially what Toyota did, right? That really just, it really changes the way you think about things and the way you think about quality. And by the way, the predecessor to TPS was TQM, and that was in the late 80s, if you remember that. Yeah. I know I'm kind of dating myself, but sorry about that. As the old man in the group, I feel like
exactly.
Yeah. Just moving on from the continuous quality focus area, there are two focus areas in professional Scrum, which is continuous integration and continuous delivery. Let's talk about that together because it normally goes together, and it kind of one kind of follows the other most of the time because it is a higher bar to achieve. But continuous integration is where we start. We think about that mostly as a technology problem. In every company, continuous integration is a technology problem, and for the dev team to solve, or the DevOps team to solve these days, where the new practice of DevOps is coming through. But again, as with continuous quality, I think the whole team has something to do with that continuous integration and continuous delivery that the team tries to achieve. And quality is part of it, but there is more. Chris, do you have a lot of experience with this? I'm sure you have something to add to that integrate and CI/CD focus area.
Yeah, the continuous integration really kind of works in, we think of it typically as software, right? And integrating the software and merging the branches, but it also applies from the business standpoint. If you think about it too, right? If you have a book and you've got 6 different people writing chapters in the book, you're going to get 6 different versions of what they, 6 different writing styles, 6 different ways of approaching it, right? And if you wait until the end, until you're ready to publish the book, you've just got a mess, right? You've got just a collection of stuff. But if you integrate it early and see who's doing what and normalize it when you're writing a book, it's very similar in software, right? You catch those things early and you figure those things out early, and you're not trying to go back and retrofit it all in the end, right? And with the pressure. So it's a really important thing. The teams typically start off with focusing on the continuous integration. And they've got, most developers are familiar with that, using tools like GitHub, right? It helps branching and merging things back in. And then the continuous deployment, right, is one that is elusive for a lot of organizations, right? Most of the teams I deal with, their heads would explode if we said we're going to do continuous deployments, right? Just because of the type of industries they're in, pharmaceuticals, right? You can't really do that. But it is it's something to aspire to. It's aspirational. And when you get to work in a company that's doing that, it really changes your mindset. It really changes how you think about things.
Yeah. Kumar or Mike?
I can add a few thoughts. Let's see here. I corrected the the title is actually continuous delivery from a Scrum standpoint. And I actually, when you were talking about a collection or a group of authors, authoring a book, it kind of reminded me of our recent effort at standardizing our decks, for some of our courses. And there's only 4 of us, and we all have different ideas and styles and different levels of detail. I'm not detail oriented. Jolly is very detail oriented. And so we struggle a little bit with our continuous integration of deck work, right? So the courses that we create and how we create them. And so it's been a learning experience for us, for me especially, appreciating the level of detail that Jolly takes in creating these decks. And I imagine that for a software development team or a team that's a production team or an operational team, they are for an operational team, what they're integrating is how they work. And so if they change the way they work, they have to integrate that in a continuous basis so that they can deliver continually and deliver quality continually. So all these things are so closely interrelated when you talk about continuous quality and the CI/CD aspects of the continuous integration and delivery of the product or the service. And we kind of lived that over the last couple of months firsthand. Still living it.
Yeah.
Mike, anything to add there?
Yeah, you're hitting at something that I think is really key, Kumar. I want to kind of continue what you were saying. That idea around making the connection, right? To have the collaboration in order to make the connection, and so that you can be tightly coupled, really makes sense. And I can tell you that we're experiencing that with the stuff we're working on. And it's interesting, working in business agility and working outside of IT when you're helping, to your point, operations or different types of things that are going on. If you're not able to make that connection, if you're not able to collaborate to make the connection, CI/CD is impossible. It doesn't matter what the technology aspect of it is. You won't get a successful implementation, and it won't be high quality if you can't make those human connections. This is a human challenge that we have. Yeah. CI/CD, I can tell you that a lot of folks I talk to, they have never heard anybody that's in the, quote, business agility space refer to CI/CD as something that's in business agility. They say, oh no, that's DevOps. that's IT, that's at the delivery side. Absolutely not. It's just like we talked about with quality. Keep moving it left, keep moving it up, because it's about making the human connections, the collaborative environment that allows for the human connections to happen. This is happening right now with two manufacturers up in Cleveland I'm working with. They're making those connections around the plant. And what's happening is now they're able to change, to your point, Kumar, the operational, they're operationalizing these human connections and making new patterns of work. And they are collaborating and connecting on a level that they've never done before. And now CI/CD, in their definition of that, in terms of high quality delivery and instant integration, the way that Scrum describes it, right, is having that automatic deploy to happen. You can't have that technology work for you if you don't have those human connections and the environment that supports those connections and collaborative efforts going on. So I think that's really, really important.
And the reason I think that things like continuous quality and continuous integration and delivery works across a variety of domains, whether that is manufacturing or operations or HR or finance and IT, is that the key to all of that is quick feedback. Right, it is increasing those or decreasing the feedback time that it takes, and making the feedback loops more frequent is what this is enabling us to do. And if there are tools for it, great. Otherwise, we'll have to find other ways of doing it, like maybe in HR or operations. And that is the key to this, I think. And that involves the entire team, not just the DevOps people or the devs or the QA. It includes everyone, irrespective of what they do, right? On that note, I know we have kind of hit the limit on our Agile short for today. Thank you very much for joining us. We will catch you in 2 weeks. Have a good day, everybody.
Thanks,
Thank you, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks, fun.